Recording, Valley's People, episode 18, duration 30, recorded 22nd of the 11th 81, replay date to be advised.
Hello and welcome again to the Valley's People. Today from Dudley we're going to meet a champion hairstylist, someone whose reputation is now spreading throughout the world. And also, you could get yourself in a little bit of an argument, I guess, but I think from New Lambton, one of the most colourful cricket personalities you could ever hope to meet in the Hunter Valley. I hope you have time to join us today when we meet two more of the Valley's People. Thanks for joining us today. Our first guest comes from Dudley. She's a champion hairstylist, someone who's won New South Wales, Australian titles, and is also world recognised as a creator of fantastic hairstyles. And only recently she won this magnificent trophy in Hong Kong, where she competed for the Asian Pacific Championship titles, culminating in a Chinese plaque. There'd be very few of those, I guess, on most trophies in Australia. Lyndel Donald. Welcome, Lyndel. I wonder if that says sort of extra grass Australian Sheila. Do you know what it is? It's a championship plaque.
It's just for, it just says 1981 champion Asian stylist.
Isn't that fantastic, to become a 1981 champion against many countries, I think, for hairstyling?
Yes, it was, I think it was about 23 other countries.
Really? 23? Dudley girl makes good, eh? That's fantastic. I think there's something I need to clear up, I guess, and that is when we talk about hairstyling world awards, we're really talking about hairstyling championship awards, aren't we? Or,
yes,
there is a difference here. You might care to explain it for me.
Competition work is completely different to the type of work you would do in your salon.
Yes.
It's work that it's creative work. You use one model for your practicing, and you practice on the same model for a couple of months, a year.
Oh, so you need a real head. You're not interested in wigs and things?
No, you have to use just this one model.
And why is that?
Well, everybody's hair is different, and if you use the same model to practice on and to compete with her, you know her hair and what reaction you'll get to different rollers and brushing out.
And how do you create a glamour hair? Because it is a glamour hairstyle, isn't it? It's something that you can't walk down the street with, really.
No, it's
Where do you start, though, when you're thinking? Is it the sort of creation under the shower, or what?
Well, the lines usually come from Europe, and then you put your own interpretation onto, what you think the judges will like here in Australia.
You say about the lines, that's the sort of the basic style, comes from overseas usually, does it?
Usually, yes. Yeah. The line which I've used in the last 12 months was a French line from the last year's World Championship in Rotterdam, and
I'm interested in what these judges seek, because if you're individually creating a pattern, aren't you, a hairstyle, and presumably everyone else is in a championship situation. I'm just wondering what, in fact, the judges will be looking for.
Creativity, cleanliness of the work. It's very hard to get roller marks out and nice clean lines.
I suppose it's just as well that there's a difference between championship and ordinary hair salon work. Do all your customers, the hair salon, want to be models, or have these creations brought forward?
Yeah, you have a lot of offers. The clients would like to be models, but like you have to have a special type face, and special type hair.
Yes,
you know,
you've got to be a
able
diplomat,
to-
haven't you? So you haven't got quite the face.
Yes.
But I guess if you volunteered to become a model, then you'd have to appreciate just how much work's involved. How much work's
Yes.
involved for the model?
The model, she will come in probably 3 to 5 times a week, usually after working hours, and sit in a chair for anything up to 4 hours per night. And that goes on for anything up to 9 months.
Really?
So,
4 nights a week, 4 hours a night for
session.
9 months
Yes.
while you create.
And I like to use the same model on each practice, so there's a lot of work in it for a model.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, when did you start, Lyndel? When was the idea that you could become just a little more than a hairdresser?
I started when I first started my apprenticeship 6 years ago, and I competed in Newcastle and won an encouragement award. And from that, I've worked and worked, and
Well, that's a
This
good
is
throwback
right.
to the judges, giving you an encouragement award. You're going on to
Yeah.
become world famous in this. Someone said in the salon that you almost didn't get started at all because you were naturally left-handed, and no one really wanted left-handed
no,
stylists.
no. It's supposed to be a drawback because everything's back to front. It's a little bit harder to train a left-hander, so it means a little bit more work for the employee. You know.
I'm not quite with you there. Why is everything back to front? You mean you got the scissors in the wrong hand?
Yeah,
right?
you've got your scissors and your combs in the wrong hand, and it's a little bit harder for your boss to teach you how to put rollers in and how
Right.
to cut.
You overcame that.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, only really just a stigma, not a reality.
Mm,
and
that's right.
and what did you create then for the Hong Kong Championships, the trophy which we saw? What were you out to do?
Just to show that you don't, like the line which I used in Hong Kong was very similar to what was used in the World Championships.
Yes.
And the Hong Kong judges couldn't believe that I had done the style on short hair. They've only seen things like what I've done on long hair. And it was just a new creation for them.
So you actually perfected a style for short hair that
Yes.
otherwise could only be done with long hair.
Yes.
Yes, well that must have got quite a few bonus points, I should think, too.
Well, they were impressed.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
And would there be different hairstyles for, shall we say, Oriental face and Australian face? You were competing on a world situation here.
Yes, I competed against Asian countries. The Asian models have got very, very strong hair, and they wouldn't be able to get the soft lines which I could get with a European head.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, well, it hadn't occurred to me before that one of the essential component parts of your championship status is, in fact, the right model.
Yes, yes.
Yes, indeed. That's interesting. Silly questions come in this program, I guess, but I mean, do you really have any tips for home permers, being a champion such as yourself?
Well, I'm not real keen on people doing their hair at home, but if they can handle it, it's fine. But if they can't, I advise that they go and see a hairdresser
Yes.
and have them done properly.
And are you into colouring as well? Is
Oh, yes.
that
yeah.
your part?
Yes, colouring. Colouring's very important in competition work as well, because it has to blend in with the gown which the model's wearing and with her makeup and all the rest. So.
Hey, say, what about the blue rinse set? Is that something we should mention? A lot of people with blue hair.
Yes, there is. I just think that they should do it a little bit more subtly if they're going to have blue rinses.
I see. You're opposed to the blue pot.
I think that, you know, it's been around for a long, long time, and I think it'll be here for a little bit longer.
I guess in fairness, it does look quite attractive though, doesn't it?
On some ladies, yes. If it's done properly.
And can anyone, do you believe, become a hairstylist such as yourself, Lyndel? What
Yes.
special part or component parts of you do you think have to come out in a creation like this?
Just a lot of hard work. You just have to practice. Anybody, like, of course you have to have, you know, a little bit of flair.
Right.
But if you work hard enough, I believe that anybody can do as well as what I have.
Yeah, it
Yes,
seems
I
to me
will.
that you first need a patient model. Have you ever been a model?
Yes, I've
Have you?
modelled. Yes.
Well, you know what it feels like.
Yes, I know. I can sympathise with them.
What do you do? Just sit in the chair and
Yes.
read a book while somebody
Um,
darts about?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you studied makeup as well, too, didn't you?
Mm,
Yeah, so
yes.
you've got quite a few strings to it. And I guess that, though, that all those things, being a model and understanding makeup and understanding hairstyling, produces a different situation.
Yes. Well, I feel that you need to know about makeup, even fashion, you know, as far as garments go, because like with a hairstyle you have to have the right makeup and the right dress to set the model off.
Right. I think the thing that would worry me, if I were you, is the fact that your normal occupation, you're working in a hair salon. I can imagine every woman coming in and sort of saying, Lyndel, would you give me a hairstyle that's different?
Yeah, well, I enjoy it. I think it's good. I like to work on individuals. I'm a creator and I like to create for the individual, yes.
Yeah, could you just spell out again for me, when you say you create a championship hairstyle, could you spell out, you know, from go to woe, how much time for one style? Because you're ultimately aiming to get one style, aren't you? One style that
Yes.
will impress the judges, and you can take that style from championship to championship,
Yes.
presumably? You can?
Yes, you
So
vary it a
you're
little.
like a ventriloquist or like a juggler. All your work is to reach one culmination. So from the original thought to the culmination, what sort of time span are we talking?
I'd practice on a model for at least 2 to 3 months before I entered my first competition with her, yes, for that season. So it's, you know, say 3 months work at 4 nights a week.
Yeah, but that sort of creates in my mind the fact that you're almost perfecting one roller at a time.
Yeah, oh yes, yes, everything has to blend, and like if one hair is out of place, it's quite noticeable. Yeah,
One hair.
yeah, everything has to be really smooth. And,
Wow.
and blending.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you're in the championship business and I'm not, because it's very easy to get hair out of place.
Yes.
Lyndel Donald, we congratulate you, and it probably comes as a surprise to a lot of people to know that we've got a budding world-recognised hairstylist right in our midst here. Thanks for being with us today on The Valley's People.
Thank you.
And we have someone entirely different, a very colourful cricket umpire, amongst other things, in just a moment. Hope you can stay. Welcome back. Our next guest is the president of the Newcastle District Cricket Association, although he's many things as well. That's Tom Locker. Well known, in fact, if I would dare say so, I think probably the leading personality in cricket, leaving Doug Walters and Gary Gilmore aside. You're the top personality with your umpire's hat and your years and years of service to district cricket. Tom, welcome to the Valley's People.
Thanks, Ron.
You've reached probably the top of the tree in this area. You've umpired matches against the MCC and Pakistan and the West Indies. And copped your fair share of abuse too, I guess. What's it like out there? You know, what are the incidents that come to mind in umpiring?
Well, umpiring is something that you're dedicated to. You have to like it and you have to enjoy it.
Right.
You ask me for incidents. I'm not one for telling stories. That's not for me, but I recall one thing which has been vivid. If you go to a test match in Sydney or Melbourne, one of the things that strikes everyone is the people who are running around with cricket ties on. They come from all parts of the world, from England, Australia, India. They've all got these ties and it's a great show.
Yes.
And one's great possessions, obviously, is the international ones. 10 or 12 years ago, probably 12 years ago, there was a West Indies side in Newcastle, captained by Gary Sobers.
Yes.
Gary was much a gentleman, but it was very difficult to get a West Indies tie. As the day they were leaving, I had occasion to go up to Gary's room at the motel, and as they were leaving, he said to me, "Tom, would you like a tie?" You know, this is great.
Yes, please.
Yes, please, I'll have it. And he gave me this tie in an envelope. And I hurriedly put it in my pocket and bid them goodbye, and away they went, a great fixture. When I got home, I opened the tie in the envelope, and it wasn't a West Indies tie, but it was a very nice tie. Now, I didn't know where it came, but I was quite satisfied. A little bit disappointed, but it was a nice tie.
Right.
2 or 3 weeks after this, I was at a dinner, and sitting alongside of me was Sonny De Carvalho, a well-known cricket personality. Right. And I had this tie on, and Sonny said to me, he said, "That's a very nice tie, Tom." I said, "Yes, I had it given to me by Gary Sobers a couple of weeks ago." He said, "It's a Merriweather golf tie, Tom," and I gave it to him.
And the tie you've got on the moment, that's a cricket history tie?
No, I was a member of the RAF in the war years, and this is a RAF tie, and I keep it. Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's quite an honour, isn't it, to umpire those matches, but as well, to be selected just about for all the representative games at the Sydney Cricket Ground. That's a different thing apart, I guess.
Well, each year they used to select what they thought was a top umpire from the country. And I was fortunate enough to have some of these fixtures in Sydney, and they pointed me, and I did enjoy them.
Yes. What do you think singles umpires apart, Tom? Is it just a rule knowledge, or is it eyesight, or is it concentration?
No, it's dedication. How I became an umpire was this. I came from a cricket family. My father and I played cricket together in the same side, and we played for years, and I suppose I must have been about 24 or 25, and I had a very bad accident playing cricket. And the result was I had my face smashed up, and I finished up in hospital. Big scar across here.
Oh, yeah.
So I wasn't to play the next week. I had my eye all bandaged up, and they would have me umpire. I said, "But I've only got one eye." But they said, "That doesn't matter. That's good enough for an umpire."
Yeah, one eye, as long as you're on the right team.
Well, that's right. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah, of course, things have changed now with instant replays and so on. You've got to have 100 eyes.
That's right. Television, colour television especially, has made things, life a little bit more harder for umpires.
The other thing that's intriguing about your life, Tom, is that you're now president of the Newcastle District Cricket Association, and there aren't too many presidents, are there?
No.
You don't seem to change very often.
No. We've had 3 as far as I can remember. I've been president for about 13 or 14 years. My predecessor was there for 20 years. It's probably time I gave way to someone who's a bit, who'd like to have the job.
Well, maybe not just yet, Tom, because, I mean, under your leadership, good things are happening to district cricket. Not the least, of course, is the importation of Sheffield Shield to the Hunter Valley. That's an innovation.
That's right. Recently, the New South Wales Cricket Association allocated to Newcastle the Shield fixture, New South Wales and Queensland. You'll be aware, as most cricket followers are, that Sheffield Shield matches held at capital cities, and especially in Sydney, are showing losses of $10, $11, $12, $13 and $14,000 each match. Losses, you mind.
Probably too much cricket.
That's right. They bring it to Newcastle, 4-day fixture. We're completely washed out Thursday and Friday. We have the fixture Saturday and Sunday, and we take gross takings of over $17,000, which indicates if we have the 4 days cricket, it's a $20,000 take.
Yes, and it's doing good things for cricket.
Oh, it's great. Yeah. Obviously, New South Wales should have won the game on the first innings quite comfortably, but it didn't happen. We hope to get another fixture next year.
Yeah, and it just opens up the whole game to youngsters in this Hunter Valley that don't have to go to Sydney to see this sort of thing.
In Newcastle is the largest association of junior cricket in Australia, the City and Suburban Junior Association. They've got hundreds of cricket teams running around Newcastle of a Saturday morning, and it's good for them to see this class of cricket in Newcastle.
Yeah, the enthusiasm which I'm getting back from you now as we talk is also the enthusiasm, I guess, that you threw into John Bull products, because I thought you owned it, actually. I was surprised to learn that you didn't.
Yeah.
But sort of John Bull flour and John Bull essence, I think every housewife is in the Hunter Valley, and now right throughout Australia has seen John Bull.
That's right.
And how long were you there?
53 years.
Really?
Yes, I worked for...
You're not old enough to be there, 53.
I am. I'm old enough. I'm 59, but I worked for the company for 53 years. It was a very profitable company, well known. In every supermarket you see John Bull spices and essences and things. A wonderful business. It's gone to Sydney.
Yeah, it was Tom Locker versus the rest, though, wasn't it, with John Bull? Because you had to get shelf space against all the other nationally advertised lines.
It was... See, what actually happened in Newcastle, John Bull Products was a name which was only known in Newcastle. And when I took over management after the war of John Bull Products, it was the era of supermarkets. Away with the little corner shop, away with the wholesaler, going to the corner, in with the supermarkets, you know. So I visualised that unless John Bull Products was trading direct with the big chains, and you know who they are, Woolworths, Coles, Franklin's the store, George Owens' stores, unless you're dealing with those, you weren't in business. I set out to deal with them, and I did it successfully. And that's where John Bull started. It was a wonderful business.
Yes, yeah, obviously it did. The other thing that I'm warned against is not to ask you about retirement. You like to throw something at me. You're one of those people that hate it.
Well, when the business was sold and went to Sydney, we outgrew Newcastle. We were too big for Newcastle. I retired, and I hated it. You know, I'd worked 53 years, and I said, "Oh, this will be lovely," but it wasn't for me. I didn't know what to do of a morning. I found something else to do, and it's great, and I'm enjoying it.
You still sing in the church choir, Tom?
Yes, yes.
What are you, tenor, baritone?
I'm the bass.
Bass?
I'm the bass singer. I'm involved heavily in the life of the church at New Lambton. It's a wonderful outlet for me.
Yes, you've come up through Methodism to the Uniting Church now. Have you
Yes,
seen all that happen?
Yes, no more Methodists. It's Uniting Church. I'm part of the Uniting Church, and I think it's great. What happened, obviously, with the Uniting Church was the three churches combined: the Methodists, the Presbyterians, and the Congregationalists. But some of the Presbyterians are continuing as Presbyterians, and that's good, and I believe that there's a place for them. But in some of the places, it will take a couple of years to get things together.
Yes, but steering that amalgamation, I guess, from your point of view, wasn't easy. The other thing that fascinates me, Tom, we're talking about upcoming and new generations and so on. I'm going to ask you a question now as an umpire, virtually. What do you think of the youngsters witnessing, shall we say, the sporting tantrums of the day? You think that's going to breed a whole new group of bat-throwing, tennis-wielding youngsters, the Al Capones of the sports ground?
I'm not so sure. Obviously, the young ones copy the older ones, and they look at their idols. But when they see their idols suspended, and I say rightly so, suspended for doing things they shouldn't do, suspended for doing things as an individual when the sport is greater than they are, when they're suspended, I think the young ones would take notice. We had the Sheffield Shield match in Newcastle recently, and I can tell you that not one youngster transgressed. And you can see youngsters in all the capital cities running on the ground at the drop of it. Not one youngster ran on the ground in Newcastle. I think there's room for youngsters, and they won't take any notice of all the Dennis Lilies in the world.
Well, Tom, there's room for 100 people like you, but I wouldn't know where they'd fit, because there's only just one character. Tom Locker, President of the District Cricket Association and umpire, previous General Manager of John Bull Products, and certainly in the forefront of the amalgamation Uniting Church. It's been a pleasure to have you on the program today. Thank you very much. Don't worry about retirement, just carry on as you are.
My pleasure.
And I'll be back in just a moment. The Valley's People. And so our two guests today, a very reserved young lady from Dudley, but well recognised in championship hairstyling, Lyndel Donald, who is the Australian champion and South Pacific champion for that sort of glamorous hairstyling that mainly we can envy. Also, Tom Locker, who's the president of the Newcastle District Cricket Association, but as well as has 100 other interests. And not the least of those, his long association with John Bull Products in this area. Hope you enjoyed today's guests, and I hope too that you will meet two more in our next program of The Valley's People. Goodbye for now.